think a lot of us would like to be less anxious than we care to admit when it comes to our kids and how we raise them and how we act in our lives in general. In this video, I'm going to teach you my top tips when it comes to being less anxious in regards to your children, as well as ways to identify your anxiety so that you can live a more confident and calm life. These mindset shifts will help you move away from feeling chaotic in your mind to truly enjoying your children's childhood. But first, hello and welcome. My name is Julie. I hold a doctorate in occupational therapy, so technically I can call myself Dr. Julie. I coach moms to go from feeling overwhelmed and struggling to feeling calm and confident when it comes to their kids. I have 3 kids of my own, 7 and younger, so I understand what it is like to be in the midst of this young childhood and all the anxiety and worry that can surface from that. I have a weekly podcast and a newsletter that you should definitely check out. The links will be down below. I talk all about parenting, go deeper into mindset shifts and occupational therapy tips that I have learned along the way as a mom of 3 young kids. I'm also very active on Instagram, so make sure you go and say hello to me over there. Send me ideas for videos and podcasts that you would need in your life that you would find really helpful. And with all of that said, let's dive in to being our best selves. Anxiety and the word parent kind of feel synonymous, don't they? Like in today's world, it kind of feels like you can't have one without the other. It's just expected that you're going to be a worrywart once you have a baby. I really don't think that you need to be this anxious person in order to be a good parent. In fact, I would argue that you would be a better parent if you weren't anxious and you weren't bringing this kind of high anxiety vibes to your children. It has definitely not always been this way. It's something that we've kind of developed with millennial and I guess Gen Z parenting, if I'm saying that correctly. It's something that has become very ingrained in our culture, probably exacerbated by social media and our accessibility to any kind of information that we want at all times of the day. And now we kind of think as being an anxious parent is kind of a prerequisite to being a good mom or dad. People mistake anxiety, worrying as being more caring for someone or something, right? The more you worry about something, the more you care about it. I'm just worrying about you because I care about you. How many times have you heard that from someone in your life? But this logic makes no sense. So let me lay it out for you. You will probably feel anxious and overwhelmed because it is a new experience. You don't have the confidence. Perhaps you've never held a baby or changed a baby in your life. There's so much new stuff going on and you're kind of left on your own. You're given that baby when you leave the hospital and bye, best of luck to you. And a lot of us go home to our lives and that's kind of it. We're just supposed to deal with it. But when you have a second baby, I would argue that you probably are not as anxious. Because why? You know what to expect. You feel more confident. You've done this before. You kind of know what's coming to a degree. It's going to be challenging, but it is not completely unknown. So my question for you is, because you are less anxious the second time around because you know what's happening, does that mean that you love your second child any less than the first one? I mean, that's crazy, right? We all love our children. People would probably say sometimes they love the second one more than the first one. That doesn't matter. There's just no logic to the fact that you have to be anxious in order to be a caring person. And that's what I'm trying to show here. That you don't need to have all that anxiety with the second child, the third child, and that means that you love it any less. Now, we have the ability to be anxious as a survival strategy, right? We use anxiety and worry as a way to continue the species. If as a new mother, you did not have this feeling of where is my baby? Are they fed? Are they clean? Are they safe? The survival of the species would be on the line. But just like other emotions, we don't need to be anxious and worrying 24/7. Imagine if you were angry 24/7. Like, where would that get you in life? You would have no friends. You probably wouldn't have a partner who wants to have a baby with you, and you would really struggle. The same with frustration. Imagine if you were frustrated 24/7, or imagine if you were in a silly mood 24/7. All of these emotions serve a purpose. No one emotion is more important than another, but they're not designed to be felt all the time. And so I want you to break away from this habit of worrying, because that's really what it is. It's a habit, and being anxious, and know that those emotions come in for a reason. And when we kind of abuse them, and by that I mean when we use them all the time, and we never experience the array of emotions, when there is actually something to worry about or be anxious about, or something really to put you on high alert, because I don't really like the idea of worrying and being anxious. I kind of think it's a waste of time, to be honest, a waste of our precious energy. When there is a reason for concern, we might not recognize that this is more important than regular life, because we're in this permanent state of angst and anxiety. Anxiety keeps us trapped, it keeps us living small, and if we don't catch it right now, we perpetuate this cycle onto our children. So my question for you, probably the most important question you're going to ask yourself today is, what is my anxiety costing? And what do I gain from being anxious? I really want you to take a moment and be very reflective, because there is always a secondary gain to however we are showing up in life, even if consciously we don't think so. Underneath the surface, there are reasons why we show up the way we do, positive and negative, however you want to phrase it. And so there is a reason why anxiety has been serving you. And only you can really answer that question. I will answer this question for myself as someone who has kind of dipped in and out of anxiety throughout the years. I've definitely had my moments of feeling incredibly overwhelmed, especially after my second child, and then I returned to work full-time at a hospital outside of the home. It was incredibly stressful. My husband was traveling a lot. As a lot of you may know, we do not have any family nearby, so any help that we have, we kind of have to pay for. We did have a nanny to help us, because honestly, I would not have been able to leave the house without her, but there was nothing extra. Once that nanny left, that was it. And it hits differently when a family member is helping you out versus, say, a paid babysitter or something. But that's a story for another day. The point being, I know what it's like to feel anxious, and I will tell you, for me, that I don't remember a lot of my daughters, and it was probably because I was very sleep deprived. I was working a lot. I was away from home for a long period of time. So I was actually missing out on a lot of her babyhood, in my opinion. There is that. But there's also things that I feel like I've blocked out because it was so overwhelming for my brain. I was carrying so much emotionally. I don't want to remember it. And for me, I'm okay with not remembering maybe parts of my childhood, but to not remember parts of hers, where I'm a fully grown, developed adult, where I have my full faculties and memory, I'm not okay with that. I don't want that. I don't want anxiety and feeling overwhelmed and stressed to rob me of her babyhood. Something that I don't know if I've spoken about in these videos, but I definitely talk about with my clients and on my podcast, is this concept of us not really needing to have children. We don't need children to help the species survive. Heck, we've just reached 8 billion on the planet. We have children because we want to, because we have a deep biological need, because we want to carry on the generations and the culture and everything. My children deserve me to show up as present as I can be, because they are here out of my choice. I chose to have them, and I feel like I owe it to them to be the best version of myself. And that's why anxiety and worrying about things that we cannot control have no place in my book. Do I still worry about silly things? Yes, of course. I mean, silly is objective, right? Silly to me might not be silly to you, and vice versa. It's a normal human emotion, just like we experience all of them. But the point is, when we identify that anxiety is running in the background like computer programs, just running your desktop while you have all these other tabs open, when we truly identify that and realize how much time we are wasting on things that we cannot control, as I say, you realize that it is time to make a change. The more we focus on something, the more it comes to life for us. So we talk about how when we light up dark emotions, when we speak about our truths, we extinguish their power and their flame, because now they're in the light. They're no longer in the dark. And the same with anxiety. When we shift our focus away from what makes us worry, what makes us anxious, we take away that power. We extinguish all the energy that is going towards it. And so I revert back to that first question of what is anxiety really costing you? Does it keep you safe? Is that what you perceive it to keep you? Does it keep you small? Does it not allow you to travel with your children or to move across the country even though you know it's better for your family? Or to change a job because you're so anxious about losing that stability and security? What about anxiety keeps you safe? Or is it because you don't feel confident in whatever you are doing? Remember baby number 1, baby number 2. We love them both, regardless of how we feel in terms of confidence, right? And so it's really, really important that you are aware of what anxiety is costing you. And I'm going to show you some ways to combat that. In my experience, and this is what my whole business and legacy is built on, the one thing that will help you combat anxiety and truly enjoy your children is confidence. Now, that seems kind of, no big deal. But when last did you do a parenting class? When last were you raised with babies around you where you just kind of helped your mom raise these babies and look after them and you know how to deal with toddlers? When last were you given skills to manage children? Most of us, at least speaking from my experience, I didn't have that much access to kids. And when I did, I was a teenager. And by the time I even had my own children, I was a lot older. And I believe that when we are confident at a skill, the anxiety has no place anymore. It goes away. You don't need it. There's no space. You can't be simultaneously confident and anxious at the same time. So this begs the question, well, how do we become confident at something? Think about a skill that you were not great at or that you didn't know how to do, and how did you become confident at it? The first step, you practiced. You practice and practice and practice, and parenthood is nothing if not practice, right? You do it all over again the next day. Then you develop competence in that skill. You become better at it. You break down parenting into how to feed your toddler, breastfeeding, sleeping, getting in and out of the house, basic things, packing the diaper bag so that you don't have to pack it every day because it has everything you need. You become better at these skills. And all of that over time compounds to help you become more confident. If you're looking for more practical day-to-day skills, I do a lot of these things on my Instagram, on my reels. I talk about how I get my toddler to eat. I talk about how I keep my home tidy with children, how I just manage my day-to-day life with practical tips, packing and traveling with kids. I have family that live very far away. If we don't go and see them, we see them a lot less. So all of these things might be helpful. Make sure you check out my Instagram bio down below to help you feel confident and develop the competencies in your parent. And then I think the secret sauce when it comes to ultimately being confident is your mindset, opening up your mind to possibility. And by that I mean, we don't have to do everything the way that it was always done. We don't have to do things the way our mothers did them or the way we see other people do them on social media. We have the power to choose. We can decide in this moment how we want to, show up in a situation, and this will make all the difference when it comes to being more confident in your parenting and less anxious. You can decide right now. It doesn't have to be this big, long, drawn-out ordeal where you go to therapy for 10 years. Yes, it can be, and I'm an advocate for all of these things. Coaching, I am a coach, right? I really believe in the power of it, from taking you from A to B. Therapy, exploring patterns that might have hindered your ability to feel confident as an adult. Self-development, doing courses and all kinds of things. I'm a huge proponent of that, but at the end of the day, you need to make the choice. I choose now to be confident and not anxious, or I choose now to work on something that gives me anxiety so that I can improve it, so that I improve my competence, so that I improve my confidence, and anxiety goes out the window. And it's kind of this chicken and egg cycle. Once you really have mastered the skill, life is so much sweeter. And that's why one of my missions is to help first-time moms behave like a third-time mom, right? Behave like a fourth-time mom. And what I mean by that, well, someone who's had experience and feels confident. How can we channel that experienced mother into a first-time parent within reason? I cannot wait if you decide to use this technique. Even by watching this video, you are opening your mind to other options. By hiring a coach, by talking to your therapist, by reading books, by consuming content that builds you up, builds your competencies and your skills, you work towards your confidence and you eliminate anxiety and worrying in your parenting.